Welcome, everyone, to Paradigm Drift number 6. My name is Anastasia.
I'm Shiloh.
And these are our panelists for this week, Tatiana and Dorian, who have come all the way for Berlin specifically to share.
From Berlin.
Hmm?
For Berlin or from Berlin?
Did I say for? They came
for Berlin too, I believe.
And they came from Berlin in order to celebrate the world of theories. To those of you who have not been here before, we should probably take a second and introduce the entire concept. Paradigm Drift is the show where theorists vie to present their vision of the world in 60 seconds. We have a hat full of names. This week we have 62 names in the hat, which is incredible because the first time we did this, we had less than 20.
Woo!
Pretty cool.
Hey, there you go. Thank you guys. All right.
Somebody said that from a different angle, they thought there were two Anastasias. Good Anastasia and evil Anastasia. Or evil Anastasia and good.
How dare you?
Light and dark, depending on who you ask. So the way that this is going to work is that we are going to pick names from this hat, and when we pick your name, we're going to tell you that you are on deck. What that means is that when you are on deck, you are going to check your camera, you are going to check your microphone, you are going to check to make sure that all of your technical properties are working. And then we are going to bring you into the panel. Then you will turn on your video and your microphone, and you will make your presentation in 60 seconds. We have a timer here, which we will start 60 seconds on when you come into the room. And so as soon as you can make sure that we can hear you, just ready to go. I think we've decided this week not to count you in because we're losing a lot of time when we do the count-in. Did we decide that?
Yes, we're not going to count you in anymore. It's a waste of time. Theorists, your job is to tell us the problem. Tell us the solution to the problem and tie them together. If you can do that in 60 seconds, we'll have something to talk about afterwards. All right, so if you do not finish in 60 seconds, you will hear the timer go off. If you keep talking, eventually we are going to interrupt you with the old-fashioned gong. At which point, we will cut you off and make you hang out with us. Nastia is discussing something very important with people on the internet. Oh, people are saying our audio is not loud enough. Turn up your speakers, turn up your microphone, turn up your headphones. We are working on finding a hardware solution to that for next month. Actually, we already figured.
Yeah.
We've got a solution for next month. For this month, just turn up your headphones and we will be louder. Otherwise, I think that we are ready for a very special treat. We have somebody on the show who you should all be quite familiar with to kick things off tonight. We have our dear friend and podcast guest from last week, the brilliant Dr. Michael Hughes, to kick things off with a new minute. This is Michael's, I think, 4th or 5th minute he's done. He's basically a stalwart anchor of the show at this point.
And Alan Izararos, you are on deck, so get your tech checked. And for now...
Guys, let's give Michael a warm round of applause. Come on, guys, come on. Seriously, come on. All right, there it is. Welcome to Paradigm Drift number 6. Michael.
Thank you for having me. All right.
Hit it.
The physical, or the idea I'd like to talk today about is how we conceive of the physical basis of memory in living systems. And what I want to propose to you as my paradigm drifting idea is that we can conceive of memory in living systems as nested scales of hysteresis loops that make up memristors. And so memristors are a very interesting piece of computation as one of 4 computational devices, the other 3 being a capacitor, a resistor, and an inductor. But a memristor is unique because it has this physical effect of hysteresis, or a memory of its prior state that affects whether it's triggered or not. And we actually see this in living systems all the time, right? If I have climbed recently, I'm going to be a much better climber in the future. If I have had, if a neuron of mine has recently fired, it can't fire for a little bit. Right? And so the level of microtubules, current moves in a memristor way, and saltwater viscosity actually behaves like a memristor at the atomic level as well.
Hey! All right, guys, come on. Give it up for Michael. That's how we kick things off at Paradigm Drift.
All right, so memory functions with memory?
So I think what's curious is how the computation devices that we use, like how we store data on a hard drive, there's actually a physical kind of 1 or 0 bit there, a charge that's in that. And they used all 3 computational devices, the capacitor, resistor, and inductor, but not the memory resistor. And this is seemingly kind of not unique to biological systems, but shows up in biological systems in a way that doesn't show up anywhere else. And what's unique about a memory resistor is that you can do computation on the memory. So where in my computer, I have to take like memory or bytes from the RAM and move it to the CPU, do math, and then do that cycle again, you do computation in a different place than the memory. So what a memory resistor kind of allows you to do is where the memory is stored, you are also doing computation, whether it's triggered or not, based on its prior history. And this is a different paradigm of computation that is actually like becoming realized in computer science now, because we can start to physically build a memory resistor. But it's been with us this whole time at these different scales of biology, just inherent to seemingly how these chemical systems are built.
Mm-hmm.
You are in luck because we have a computer scientist with us in the studio live for the very first freaking time. Dorian, is any of this making any goddamn sense to you?
No, I think it makes a lot of sense, what he's saying. However, I think the reason why we don't do computations in RAM is because RAM is slow compared to level 1 and level 2 caches. So we are loading it closer to the physical CPU for the reason that, light speed matters at these kind of tech frequencies. And so that's kind of the reason. What would be interested to me is, so I've heard of hysteresis. I'm not a physicist, but I've heard of hysteresis effects in terms of, electrodynamics. So because like some magnets have this kind of property of remembering charges, I guess. And do you think that that is really an electrodynamic process in the brain that makes the hysteresis effect, or is it something else?
I think because I posed that there's a few different scales of what's going on. At the base end of it, it's all electrodynamics at atomics, and I think that's kind of cool to like build up from there. But I think that there's also some other ways of imagining hysteresis kind of as like even just a rubber band or something elastic as well. There's other physical systems other than the electrodynamic one. And that's usually where my mind goes, in places with like osmotic pressure or tendons or that kind of thing. But I want to answer your question as you asked with the electrodynamics and the magnetic stuff, where it shows up in the body. And I actually think that the heartbeat, and also you have a pulse in the cerebrospinal fluid. Both these fluids are moving, and they're both electrical, like electrolyte fluids. And so there's going to be some talk, right? Like an EKG or of your heart or brain is actually measuring magnetic moments or electrical moments. So these systems talk to each other directly at that scale. And I think that the average biologist would say that memories are stored in like engrams and neurons in the brain. But I think that Michael Levin's work makes memory far more strange for us, right? It's not like bits in a computer as much as some distributed process that's stored like, at many scales in an organism.
So are you making the case that not necessarily that this should be a way that computers are constructed, but more in the sense that if you treat biological systems as computational systems, that they already have hardwired into them this component that's missing from like the substance of a real computer?
I think that like the computer is my on-ramp to talk about biology, and so I adopt that frame. But I do think that this is an important lens when we're considering like how biology makes decisions. It's using a kind of a different computational framework than how we model it digitally. And if we think of like, I really like Michael Levin's experiment. I didn't use my prop, but he did this thing with the flatworms, where if you have a one-headed flatworm and you cut it up, it grows one-headed, head flatworms. But he made this two-headed flatworms. And when you cut it up, it grows two-headed flatworms, even though the DNA is the same in both, right? So in a sense, its memory is the same but it's realized in a different way. Right? So biological systems need a different frame to kind of think about how it does computation. And that's why I think we should keep this like memories or resistor and loops of hysteresis in mind. And it goes all the way down to water itself. Water with salt in it has a viscosity hysteresis. If you let it just sit for like 2 days, it'll be more viscous like syrup than if you stir it. If you don't have salt in water, it loses this. So your bag of salty water, right? There's a physical reason that you need that thing. And this again kind of goes back to the electricity as well.
Tatiana, any thoughts?
I mean, I heard of this only vaguely, like in bacteria, where I think they have similar memory patterns. Yeah, even though it's the same clones or something of each other in the colonies, they're still able to differentiate within like a biofilm colony or something, where they can differentiate and have kind of this memory effect. But this was years ago that I read up on it, and I'm very vague.
That's okay. This is the place to speculate. If we're going to speculate anyway.
So I think it like sounds reasonable. The saltwater thing sounds kind of a little bit crazy because it's touching on homeopathy almost, right? And you're like, oh my God, that can't be right. That's not a thing.
It's literally where this journal is published. It's in the Journal of Homeopathy. I don't know if you can see it. I'm not sure if that's coming through, but yeah, it's in tiny print. But it's in
dirty sinner.
Yeah, okay.
No, you read it beautifully. Yeah, that's exactly what's happening.
Tatiana clocked it.
I can't. You lost me at homeopathy, but it definitely sounds very interesting.
Hey, Michael, before you go, why don't you plug where your paper can be downloaded so we can get... Michael is in the top 10 of downloads for this journal right now, and we like to believe that we have something to do with that. So, Michael, tell them the name of the paper so they can search for it. You've written a magnum opus about the strange behavior of water in cells at a structural electrical level. It's a fascinating paper, so everybody can check it out.
Thank you for the plug. Yeah, it was a beautiful journey. So this is on the Journal of Molecular Biology. I'm so glad it's out now. And it's also freely available under the Creative Commons license. And it's called Rethinking Cellular Organization. I forget the second half of it. I know it sounds awful, but I can't believe I'm blanking on that one. But Rethinking Cellular Organization will get you there. But yeah, phase transitions is a method of organizing biology.
And we have it linked in our last podcast too, so y'all can check it out there.
Excellent.
Yeah, and thank you to the community for checking it out when you do hear the link. It was cool to see it bumped up on the downloads list.
Absolutely.
Thank you so
All right,
much,
guys,
Michael.
give him a big hand. Come on. Let's give it up.
All right, welcome, Alan. And I just want to say, Patrick Daniel Whites, you are on deck. And for Alan, welcome. We're excited to hear your theory. We've got a minute on the clock. Let's hear it.
The field of evolutionary biology is stuck in a dead end. Ever since the Human Genome Project back in 2001, and now, more than 20 years later, we have failed to understand what determines our biology. Despite great advancements in the sequencing technologies, allowing for thousands of species to be fully sequenced, after collecting genetic data from millions of humans, even sequencing every single cell type in our body, we aren't even remotely close to bridging the gap between genotype and phenotype. We failed to realize that the genome is a lot less like a blueprint and much more like a seed of information that initializes the multi-layered aspect that is our phenotypic space. Just how computers function with multiple programming languages across different levels, I believe life to be the same, where the genome is our machine code, but we fail to grasp the higher level languages that determine our biology.
Nice.
All right, come on.
Alan Isararas, welcome.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
So, is the theory that we're missing some layers of computation? Is the idea?
But can I say something?
Yeah, I got Tatiana, please.
Don't we have this with epigenetics? Isn't that so? We started out with kind of genomics and trying to understand the blueprint. We realized that that's not the whole story. We're much more complicated than that. And then now we're starting to really dig into the epigenetics aspects. And I think we're still keep on digging. Like, obviously, we're not there either. So, and I think we have a lot of progress when it comes to that area as well, epigenetics.
Yeah, I think that is correct. But I view biology as being a layered phenomena where every layer of a phenotype should, in theory, have a control paradigm, so sort of like a language where you can program it from. So yeah, we have figured out that the genome has genes and that they get translated, and then there's this epigenetic layer. But really what I'm asking or what I'm viewing is what other layers of determination are we missing from the equation? Because even though now we have epigenetics, we still cannot bridge a phenotype. Like we cannot even predict how tall a human being is going to be based on the genome because there's clearly something missing. And so what I'm suggesting is to take seriously that across all our phenotypic space, which might include things like culture, like AI, and maybe we can get to this, but this also redefines how we measure fitness and what the process of natural selection entails.
So if I can steelman it, you're basically saying that, like, look, we've gotten to the point where we have genetic information, then we have epigenetic information, but there's still this yawning chasm between the genome and the epigenome.
But I think we don't have the epigenetics figured out. So you're looking across different organisms, and let's say like bacteria or something, it's super complicated. Just epigenetics when we look at a more simplified organism like a bacteria. So if you look at something that's way more complicated and complex like a human, where we are definitely much more shaped by our environment compared to a more simple organism where things are more hardwired into its behavior, then of course there's all these other layers and nuances. I guess my argument would be we kind of vaguely figured out, I would say, genomes. I mean, we still kind of don't have an idea about what used to be called junk DNA or something. So we don't quite know these things either yet. So my argument back, like refutal, would be, I don't think we have figured it out yet. And I think it's still definitely a work in progress. And I definitely agree with you where we can't say this is the code, this is the phenotype, this is the result of that code. I agree with you. I think but I also don't think that we claim that we have it all figured out yet either.
That's probably true, yeah. And so, okay, so like what's the piece that you think we're missing if it's not genomic stuff?
Yeah, the thing is we need to demystify the environment because we always say like, oh, the environment has this thing and we treat it like this mystical entity. We don't even define it. We just say the environment. And so what my approach tries to do is to really take seriously what environment are we talking about, and that every phenotypic layer is determined by a different environment. So sort of going layer by layer and peeling everything and figuring out if there's something new, like there's a new control paradigm. For instance, Michael Levin figured out bioelectricity. That's clearly like an ordering paradigm that we didn't know about. And just like there's bioelectricity, I bet there's 100 more things that determine outcomes and that function in this code environment way.
That's really interesting. What were you going to say?
Can I ask what an organism, like, I'm guessing you're a research scientist yourself? And
I'm a PhD student.
Okay, and what are you, like, what organism are you working with? What's your
I work with
Kiana
humans.
asking the hard questions.
I'm just curious. Because you can't do this with humans right now, right? There's no way you're going to separate the environment. Bacteria, I could think of maybe something more. Yeast, I don't know.
Yeah, what do you do with humans?
No, he's not.
Yeah, I mean that's why I'm proposing to
Put them in cages.
peel biology into layers. So first figure out the genomic layer, then the epigenetic layer, then how multicellularity mesh together, then how that gives you a nervous system and a place to take decisions from. So every one of these control layers has a determination circuit, so to speak, has a language. And there's just a huge gap. We don't even know what these languages are. But I bet every one of these steps, which I call phenotypic dimensions, have a determining language.
I mean, I think that it's interesting if you think about the way that there's like, I have a question. Is the dog your dog or is it somebody else's dog?
Oh no, it's my neighbor. Sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's totally okay. I just figured we should.
I thought that was his roommate. Oh, so it makes more sense that it's the dog. Yeah.
So it's like I can imagine a world where like sound has an effect on biology.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we have no frame for being able to understand that. Like we went to New York recently, and you're in the city and you're just inundated by like horns honking.
But they do experiments, like for example with rats or mice.
Yeah.
Like they have studies to show like noise. Am I not doing okay? Noise is like a issue in terms of how long they're living for. Like it's a stress indicator that you can actually measure. So I think this is also being done to some degree. I would argue the environment is if anything that the organism can sense externally and interact with, right? So then that would count as an environment. And of course that could be sound if they can have sense organs to detect sound, or it's it could be chemicals or electricity or whatever it is that organism has evolved to detect. Sorry, can you answer me? What are you working with?
In my academic research. Yeah, I'm a population geneticist.
Okay, and what?
But this is like completely unrelated.
Okay, this is just the side. Okay, cool.
How'd you start thinking about this stuff?
I've always, since high school, I always wondered what the hell evolution is. I don't think we know. I don't think we are remotely close to a good explanation. And I think the mystery is, what is natural selection? Is there like this power law that with time comes complexity and information processing, or what's going on? You know, we have approaches like assembly theory, and other approaches.
Hey, Alan, where are you physically at right now?
I'm from Mexico. I'm in Querétaro, Mexico.
Oh, cool. Hell yeah. I think, is this the first person in another country we've had on Paradigm Shift? Bringing in the world. That's what I'm talking about. It's all happening in real time. Congratulations for not making this an American only. No, that's new. Haven't we had a Brit? I think we've had a Brit.
We've had a couple of.
They don't count because they're basically our country's
fighting
legacy.
words, but yes. Alan, I think that this is a really interesting idea. It's obviously something that you've just kind of started to formulate. But I think that if you could come back and have a specific example of the phenotypes that you think are poorly described, and then like propose a theory for how you think that phenotype might be produced by some system that is as yet not folded into the conventional biological paradigm, that would be super interesting.
Okay.
I'd love to see it. It's a cool idea. Thank you for coming.
I have a website.
Yeah, plug it.
myname.net.
Okay.
I have blog posts where I describe all these things.
Fantastic. Okay, drop it in the chat. When you come back into the chat, drop it so people can find it. Thank you so much.
Guys, give Alan a round of applause. Come on. Come on.
Patrick, welcome.
Hello.
Nice
Can
to.
you hear me?
We can. You're a little on the blurry side.
We're probably not going to fix that right this second.
Probably not going to fix that right this second. We'll accept the blur.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
You ready?
Yep.
Hit it.
My bras, my cats, my complex cats. I
No,
bring
this
to
isn't
you
going
an
to work.
idea.
Yeah, this isn't going to
Gathered
work.
by
I'm sorry.
This isn't going to work.
Patrick,
stop.
you got to come back with a better connection.
No.
We can't hear you. You're too choppy. We're going to have to.
Okay.
Come back next time. Make sure you have a better connection. All right, we got Charles Probaker on deck, and right now in the room with us, we have Gerald.
Hello, everybody.
All right, hit it.
All right. Hello, everyone. I'm here today to address a problem that has plagued electrical engineers and physicists for some time now. When energy flows down a given length of wire, an electromotive force is created in opposition to that flow of energy, which has been termed inductive reactance. By using a series of electrical instabilities to our advantage, I hypothesize the negating of inductive reactance through direct energy conversion by utilizing angular momentum created by magneto-hydrodynamic flow of electrons meant to mimic the atom. Solved under a field reverse configuration of a sacred geometrical electromagnetic coil system, this will allow for a reduction in cost to our electrical devices, a possible increase in longevity in our electrical systems, and possible superconductivity. Thank you for your time.
All right.
All right.
All right, come on, guys.
Welcome, Gerald. So
Thank you for
hypothetical
having me.
electrodynamics.
Yes. Well, not so much hypothetical. I kind of built the system.
Okay, do you have it?
I do.
What's it do?
I create energy from how do I put that? I can literally take an electromagnetic coil that's a vortex coil, and I can pulse on one side, pulse on the other, cohere the energy into a ferrite magnetic core that's not even touching the initial coil system at all. Basically, much like a coherent matter wave.
Next time you come, can you bring this and demonstrate it?
Absolutely. I have over 315 videos on YouTube that demonstrate exactly what I've been doing.
I feel like this is a hard thing to examine.
Absolutely. This is out of the box thinking, and it's not regular physics, so to speak. Although it is.
You said a lot of physics words, that's for sure. I heard
Sorry?
a lot of if we were playing bingo, you would have hit all the physics words. But I
It's
honestly
the only
have
way
no
I
idea what
can
you're talking about.
Describe the system that I've been observing and had multiple people observe as well.
Dorian, Tatiana, did you guys catch anything of note?
Yeah, I think he's referring to Lenz's law. That's the one that creates the opposite. We have a lot of it in computer science, and that's kind of the reason why we need to cool CPUs, because whenever we use a lane, let's say in a CPU, and there's a parallel lane, then we induce electricity in the opposite direction, which we don't want, because it's information that we don't want to actually transmit, and then we have to kind of counter this, and the result is heat. And that heat has to be removed with essentially with either with water cooling or some sort of cooling scheme. So basically, what you're saying is, do you need to apply a counter, like a counter electricity, or is it just somehow free?
Well, it's not free. There's no such thing as a free lunch. But basically, I use a vortex coil to compress the energy into the center of the open core itself. And I use 7 to 8 different instabilities that electrical engineers try and get rid of. And I use those in a series to accumulate the energy in the what some would call the back electromotive force. But ultimately, it is inductive reactance. But I capture that, and I capture it 100%. And the system cycles so fast, it doesn't allow heat to enter into the system itself.
This cursorily,
It's
this
non-linear.
sounds like you've made an electromagnet. Is that possible? That you've just made an
It is
electromagnet?
an electromagnet, yeah.
Okay, what's the difference between like a conventional electromagnet and the thing that you have done?
I can light over 4 amps of LEDs with less than 100 milliamps of power.
It's much more efficient.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that you should come back, and I think you should bring your device.
Yeah, let's fire up some
Absolutely.
LEDs, man.
Absolutely.
All right, guys.
All right,
I
Joe.
think we're gonna keep it rolling.
We're gonna let you go for right now, but I
Guys,
think
Thank you for
that
your time,
Guys,
everybody. I appreciate
Give him
it.
a hand. Come on, guys.
Thank you so much.
Come on.
Beautiful. All right. We'll see you next time. right, nice to see you, Ricky.
How you guys doing? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you great. All right, you got a minute on the clock?
Excellent.
Hit it.
Okay. My theory is archetypal forcing. What it solves is it allows us to quickly identify problematic models in society, to quickly identify if things are going to cause behavioral sinks or issues, especially around social engineering. The quick framework is that you have a boundary, like a law. You have artificial injection of resources, propaganda, and then you have essentially a closed system, which limits adaptation, which causes a behavioral sink. And then you can usually predict from that simple heuristic if you're going to have impending issues. And you can apply this to all kinds of things like prohibition, circumcision, drug laws, etc.
All right, guys, come on, give Ricky a hand. Archetypal forcing.
Archetypal forcing.
Archetypal forcing.
No, is archetypical forcing the same as archetypal forcing?
I don't know. I probably say it differently every time, so.
So you're basically like, okay, so Ricky's been on a couple of times. And so Ricky has this entire theory about the fact that there's like, I think that if I was to give a description to what you're trying to do, it feels like you're trying to put a label onto the forces that shape culture and society.
Yes. So because we live in an era where social engineering can happen so fast because we're all interconnected. It's not a slow process anymore. And we have to quickly identify what things are artificial, these top-down moral imperatives, because that's what happens. We have a moral imperative, and we have to recognize as soon as a boundary gets enclosed around it, you're likely going to have issues with adaptation, which will cause a behavioral sink. And it doesn't mean like a widespread behavioral sink. It can be domain specific. So the minute you attach, so using Calhoun's model, the Utopia mouse experiment, the artificial injection is the endless food and water. The boundary, the physical space, is like laws or any kind of psychological block. And then what happens is the system wants to regulate itself archetypally, so you start getting the biology starts to try to figure out what to do. But when you have laws and boundaries, you start to have a behavioral sink. And that's why in so many domains, you can very quickly use this heuristic to go, we're going to have a behavioral sink.
Which is bad.
Which is bad.
Can you remind people what the hell a behavioral sink is really quick? Some of us aren't so steep.
A behavioral sink is simply when a system can't adapt to solve a problem.
Can you give the example with like prohibition or circumcision? You mentioned that really quickly.
Yeah. So circumcision's fascinating. I wish I could talk more about this, but
let's go.
So circumcision.
Is yours. Or do you mean just in public when you run into people on the street?
Let's talk about cutting dicks open. Let's do it.
I know. Let's put it on the chopping block. All right.
Not just dicks, I guess. Yeah. All sexes get circumcised.
The circumcision is fascinating because it started out as, you could think of, if you're circumcising a baby, that baby, you have a moral imperative. The boundary is the baby doesn't have a choice. The behavioral sink is a Danish study showing that there's up to 50 to 70% autism rates from circumcision. There's MK Ultra CIA studies that show circumcision from 3 to 7 causes all kinds of hyperaggression, ego disorders, hypervigilance. Circumcision is super linked to hypervigilance and like kind of like paranoia and hyper in-group out-group preferences. And use your imagination a little bit. The minute this became widespread in society because of once pardon me going into some weird topics, but once the Jews kind of came to America and we had
It's
moral
only a matter of
laws.
time before somebody
I know. I'm
starts
sorry.
blaming the
I'm sorry.
Jews shit.
I'm not blaming the Jews, but
Fuck, YouTube's coming after us now. Oh god, I could just like
no, this
hear
is
the
fast.
fucking-
This is so interesting.
But the
You're gonna love this.
circumcision in America came from Kellogg, I think, and wanting to prevent masturbation, and that's why that was a big introduction. It's not specific. Also,
That was part. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
but
I don't want to
and,
interrupt you.
and my question would be also: Are we okay? So in America, circumcision became a standard for a while and didn't in the rest of Europe. Are we able to compare same populations, and we're really saying there's also a rise in aggression? And how do we know it's not a correlation to something? How are we really saying it's a causation?
Well, let me go back to the beginning. So, when the West started to create bodily autonomy laws, you had cultures who did not go with that because they needed to protect their traditions, right? So, a lot of the early archetypal forcing of circumcision was it cured everything under the sun. It cured every mental illness. It cured every disease. And then it kept just leapfrogging to different things until it became, oh, that just looks normal. And so that was the archetypal forcing. Now, what happens is when you have archetypal forcing, you don't always know what the behavioral sinks are because they get kind of masked. It's hard, like you said, it's hard to know without really good studies exactly what's happening. So every time this gets studied, it's like, yeah, you have a million variables. But in terms of the UK, right now, what's happening in the UK? You have a lot of instability due to immigration, and you have a high Muslim population with a 90-something% circumcision rate, with an English population that has almost very little. And I think you get strange clashes in temperaments because of that. I think you could. And
but it's also you're talking about a cultural difference there as well. Like, wouldn't you argue that maybe there's also maybe a cultural reason for it, or maybe even...
culture is just biology. It's just biology ranked up. And this is Anthony Stevens, Jungian. We are just our brains are manifestations of usually of our conditions, our environment, and our biology.
Okay, I don't have the capacity to Google this right now, but somebody in the chat said that the Windsor family is circumcised.
I don't know.
I don't know.
It's hard to believe because I mean, I don't know.
Well, you got to think that when a baby comes out of the womb, the developmental stage is super. Things are happening very fast, and you're introducing super hyper trauma. So don't desensitize the penis when they do it. So you're introducing hyper trauma.
I mean, they desensitize it with alcohol, kind of, so that is part of the...
Like down the hatch?
No, I think there is some alcohol.
Drink up, little guy.
And plus it's it's like on the 8th day, yeah? You do a bris milah, so...
Well, it's like,
fascinating thing.
Not
the
just
reason...
Jews are circumcised.
Look, I'm just going to out myself. I'm the least looking guy among us, I think.
Okay, I would argue two things. So first of all, my question would be, look, you have different age. So they do it... if they're Orthodox, they're doing it they're doing the bris milah, so I think it's 8 days after birth that you have to do this. But the Muslims are doing it, I think, at age 12, if I'm not mistaken.
Whoa.
Please, somebody correct me. And there are also, for example, if you're a convert to Judaism and you convert to Orthodox, then you're also going to be circumcised. So that's adults potentially doing it. And we also see, I've known people who got circumcised adults. I did not notice a change in temperament, but of course that's anecdotal evidence. The problem is if you have a baby and you say he's more aggressive, you have no baseline to compare him to. It's like he might have been predisposed to be aggressive.
I think we have a great baseline between cultures that the aggression in cultures that do circumcise and the ones that don't. I think that's pretty evident.
Okay, are you saying Jews are more aggressive? Like, you can say Muslims are more aggressive for whatever. Are you saying they're more aggressive?
They're hyper-vigilant and have extreme in-group, out-group preferences.
Yeah, but they have also, but they also have a history why they might be hyper-vigilant. Like, if you say that's a thing.
Like particularly hyper-vigilant.
Mayday, going down.
One of the One of the fascinating
I don't
things about the
understand
8
though.
days
Everybody's
is
circumcised. Like this is, how does this have anything to do with?
not as many as you think.
Wow.
Almost.
But like
So
Muslims are circumcised.
God, look up what the percentage of circumcision across the board is in America. Like, I feel like this is important. Literally, anyone in the chat.
in America, it's about 40 to 60%,
I mean,
depending on obviously like between legacy, like like you're not non-Muslim and
Okay, but
other
it's like
cultures.
if it's 40 to 60%, like America's not 40 to 60%.
No, they started doing that. They started doing that as a way, like a big
Isn't it, like,
reason
symmetry?
because of Kellogg. Yeah, like they started it was popularity because it
Yeah,
was a
a
way
lot
to
of the-
prevent
A
masturbation.
lot of the early Christian groups.
Yeah, well,
yeah,
were-
for real.
Well,
The
so part
serial
of
guy,
the early
Kellogg.
Christian groups doing it was because that's when the hospitals were making a lot of money from doing it. So there's a huge biomedical aspect. The biomedical part of circumcision is in the billions. Those skin cells are worth so much money. So there's also that part of the archetypal forcing. There is no sane reason to do it. Put it that way. Zero sane reason to do it. Zero medical reason to do it. Zero. There's just no reason.
I mean, it's pretty fucked up. Like, if we were doing female circumcision, I feel like, and you can like make the case that it's like sanitary or whatever, everybody would be up in arms. And so I do feel like it's pretty fucked up that there is this like contingent.
Someone in the chat said that this was muddying the archetypal theory. It's not. This is the kind of topic you need archetypal forcing to recognize that you have all of this outside energy being infused into a closed system, which causes problems.
Can I chime in? I don't really want to participate in the circumcision debate so much, but you named this as an example, and so I have two questions. One of them is, what exactly do you mean by closed system? Like, what is it closed against? And my second question is, you say behavioral sink. That implies that something's flowing from a source to a sink. So what is the thing that is flowing in your analogy?
So a closed system would be any kind of
Oh no, sorry. I'm sorry, chaos. I'm sorry, this is my fault.
Oh no, what happened?
Oh, it's okay.
He's
Okay.
back.
I'll make it very fast, though. I know you guys have moved on.
No,
You gave
it's
me
okay.
time.
I couldn't get in touch with Joseph, and I didn't tell me who was up next. So, Joseph, you're on deck. I'm sorry. You hang out. Carry on, Ricky.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so I have relatives who had to decide whether to get their son circumcised. They struggled with the choice mentally, severely, intrapsychically, because they didn't know if they would look weird later on. They don't look like my dad. That's a boundary. That's an artificial boundary imposed from the outside.
Okay.
And
Isn't all of society an artificial
You're not letting him. Like,
Sorry,
I want to
sorry,
hear
sorry,
response to Dorian's, and then let's get.
Sorry.
It's an
No,
interesting, it's an interesting topic.
Anastasia, you're completely right.
No,
Now,
answer Dorian. It's
This is
fair.
turning into
I-
Tucker Carlson crossfire thing or something. Let's all
I think
just
it's a
chill
great
out little bit.
topic because the left wing was instrumental. Feminists were instrumental in trying to get
Take my
circumcision
shit off.
banned. Okay, and so the thing is
Why they just hate penises?
well, okay, biological.
No, circumcision ban. They
I'll
want-
get it banned. I said bring it back.
Yeah, they
I thought it
wanted
was
to
like,
ban
make
it, right?
circumcision great again or something. Okay.
And so, and all biological systems, all intrapsychic systems are always trying to achieve balance in the face of reality. Reality trips you up and you gotta get your balance back, right? Closed systems, or the more closed a system is, the harder it is for archetypes to reassemble. And what happens is you get the trickster archetype. And the trickster is a liminal archetype designed to subvert boundaries. So that's where you get a lot of the weird behaviors from, like in the Calhoun experiment, is the trickster starts to pop up and says, I'm going to try to do this and do this. And that's where you get a lot of crazy stuff happening. And the trickster, the motto is dissolve or be dissolved. And that's why the minute you start seeing trickster motifs popping up in society, it's usually in the face of a closed system. Sometimes you can have artificial priming because sometimes elites like to do that. They hijack a moral imperative and then they try to make it serve their own ends. So, drugs are bad. Don't do drugs. Oh, let's ban drugs and then inject drugs into the market. And then you create a behavioral sink. That's kind of what I mean.
Which is what?
Behavioral sink would be that you have laws saying you can't do drugs.
It's the bounce.
Yeah, one second. Go body. You have laws that say you can't do drugs, but then you have drugs being pushed into the market, and then you go to jail. And then suddenly our prisons are overflowed with people who can't get help, can't get treatment because we're using the military-industrial complex. You have a massive behavioral sink. Families are destroyed, etc.
It's like a self-reinforcing second-order effect or something like that.
Well, it sounds like a consequence of bounds to a system. But why do you not just say a consequence? Why do you? Because the sink analogy again implies that something is flowing from a source to a sink, and that's not that is not captured by the word consequence.
I would. Huh. Oh God.
No. I think that.
I think I'm using Calhoun's terminology because I think that's sort of the experiment is where I derived this idea from. So you might be right. I probably could use some linguistic modifications to capture it better.
Ricky, I think we have to let you go, but this is clearly a hot topic with lots of hot takes available.
I would keep minding that vein, my friend.
Tatiana, do you have any closing thoughts?
I mean, there was a lot of things being. There were so many things being brought up. Yeah, I think we went away when we started talking about circumcision because that's a hot topic of itself. Yeah, away
that's
from
kind of why I brought it up.
Yeah, but I just want to mention also there's medical circumcision that is absolutely a necessity in certain situations, and I don't know what percentage of it, but that also there is a medical necessity in some cases as well. Besides just religious or whatever.
This is true. All right, Ricky, we're gonna let you go for now. Come back next time. We'll dig deeper into this. It's always good to see you.
Ricky Cisco.
Yeah.
On and on.
Snip.
Wow.
All right.
Hello, everybody.
Welcome, Joseph.
Good evening.
It's good to see you. All right, we got a minute on the clock for you. Hit it when you're ready.
All right, slightly less phallic than the last. Let's go. All right, so we're looking to create a sustainable, self-organized, high-density plasma held captive in air at atmospheric pressure. This is accomplished by creating a physical bifurcation of differentials by virtue of the initial configuration. The system creates an asymmetric equilibrium by exploiting the natural properties of a semi-permeable insulative membrane that allows for hydrogen plasma formation intramedia at the uppermost surface of the membrane without combustion, which is then drawn out of the membrane and contained by the anodic bias at the surface, causing plasmatic zoning on the anodic side of the membrane. As the density reaches critical, the zones chase to combine, causing a rotational energy vector, thus a magnetic component. This leads to a parabolic condensation of anodic plasma to swoop around the hydrogen plasma in a vortex. An increase in magnetic field compression pinches the vortex, collapsing into a toroidal sphere with the hydrogen plasma in the center in a state of resonant cavitation.
All right. Okay,
Joseph.
Guys, come on. First time on the show, Joseph.
It was dense for a minute. I'm sorry, but
Again, a lot of physics words. You seem like you need to team up with our second guest?
Yeah, can you evaluate if that was less
I know
phallic
Gerald,
than the
but
previous?
we've worked together.
Ah, makes sense. So you guys are speaking a similar dialect, which we are not initiated into, it seems. But maybe
That's fair. We could take it slow.
All right. First of all, before I forget, I want to actually know who you guys are. Where are you at, by the way?
I'm in New York.
New York. What part?
Yeah. Yep, and we do a YouTube channel, well, a couple of YouTube channels that work together on not only just theory, but also experiments. Now, this particular theory, so actually follows the experimentation and not the other way around.
What is your ultimate goal? You're trying to build energy devices?
Well, I think that the implications of having captive plasma are pretty self-explanatory, but there's definitely an energy device aspect of this. I think that with this in the initial phasing of testing, and we're kind of going into the second mode now. We're looking to actually capture the cavitative pulses that are coming off of this sphere that we're forming on the membrane surface through coils in resonance, and then being able to extract that energy in the resonance in the coils, for use. And we don't have those figures yet on it, but the effects that we're seeing off the testing is absolutely mind-boggling. So, very cool stuff.
What is the ultimate aim of this? Is it energy production or power harvesting? I should say.
It's a great question. I mean,
are you going to use it to grow even bigger muscles?
That is the primary. Yeah, that is the primary. Initial task at hand. But the saying is, in this type of when you're dealing with these types of field generations, is that when you have one, you kind of have them all. So when you bring things into separated equilibriums with one another, what you end up with is very, very fascinating results. And again, we're still exploring it. I don't want to make claims, but some of the anomalies we're seeing are pretty rad, to be real.
So is it, I think you might have already answered this question. Is the goal power generation?
Power generation's just it is the main aspect of it.
I feel like this is Oppenheimer like playing in a sandbox, and he's got like a couple nuclear bombs in there, and they're like, "What are you doing, dude?" And he's like, "Oh, like some fun things will happen eventually." And you're like,
"I'm Italian."
That's the only accent I can muster.
He was American.
The Italians are the only people I can make fun of because I'm gonna get in trouble otherwise.
He's American. You can make fun of him. I don't
know. That's no fun. I can't make my own accent.
This is true.
He's got a German last name. Anyways.
Yeah, but he was born in America, and I think New York, or where is he from?
But so...
Leave it to the German to know.
This is true.
New German.
Is room temperature plasma that you're just kind of doing stuff with? Like, what is the picture?
Well, I could describe how we accomplish it, because I think, to me, that's the fascinating part, at least. Traditionally, if you're going to have plasma in a contained and self-organized state, you need to have it in a vacuum tube under certain conditions.
Sure.
And we broke the mold with that by separating the anode and the cathode. So the positive and the negative are completely separate.
Isn't that generally how that works in a circuit, though? Like a cathode ray tube, like...
Yeah, so follow this. So the cathode is in water. Okay, and it's stainless steel, which has a hydrogen attracting element to it. The hydrogen actually wicks up into our membrane substrate, which is semi-permeable. So it's got porosity to it. It's allowing moisture through it, as well as the ionized hydrogen. That precipitates up toward the top surface, where the anode is actually very focused on a certain spot. That opposite charge actually pulls, like lightning pulls energy from the ground before it strikes. This pulls the ionized hydrogen to the surface. Then the current and the heat from the anode create the plasma intramembrane. So it's actually creating in a vacuum environment, but then able to be drawn out. And when the stability comes into when it starts to accumulate, it starts to zone out to find its stability. And as soon as that zoning happens, the anode has a magnetic component to it, the way that it's formed, and then that actually creates a rotation to it. And when the rotation occurs, then it actually collapses into a sphere, and the sphere is pulsating.
The problem.
People gotta start bringing these plasmoid thingies around to show us. Can you do a show and tell next time?
I absolutely can. We have hundreds of hours of footage and anomalies and super fascinating things to see.
You bring the real plasmoid. I want to see the thing in its flesh.
We showed today on the channel something I've never seen before. Okay, which is it's emitting black light, and I don't mean black light. I mean like it acts like light, but it's pitch black. I've never seen anything like it. I'm still trying to get my head around it.
Yeah, you gotta show us this stuff. Like this is again with like with electrical stuff. I will say. Oh,
let's check in with our closest to electrical engineer that we have on deck today.
Sure.
Does any of this make any goddamn sense to you?
Maybe. I have absolutely no idea. Like this is so far from my reality that I cannot judge whether that can work or not. I have no idea.
I'm in the exact same boat.
I'm afraid I am too. We need some demos. Yeah, maybe.
I would have brought demos, but I know it was a no demo situation.
No. You can bring an alien if you've got one. We just don't do screen shares. So if you can show us anything, maybe you can hold an iPad up if you have to. But if you could bring the actual plasma orb and like twirl it around, I would. Well, that you can just, I'll come work for you. Yeah.
No. Listen, that's all good. We can figure something out. For what it's worth, I don't actually do the experiments myself. I have a group that I work with. I do the analysis of all the data, and work out exactly what's going on, what has to change. If we want to bring certain attributes out, or grow it, or make two, or some stuff like that. I work with them to analyze the data, find the anomalies, and then figure out exactly how to exploit it.
Right on, man. What's your YouTube channel?
It's Old Man Builds. It's my friend Nathan's channel.
All right.
He specializes in a lot of Tesla coil stuff, and radiant energy, shooting energy through the ground, not the air, and then being able to light bulbs up 50, 70 feet away with just like small current going through it. So pretty cool stuff.
Hell yeah.
I love that.
All right, man. Well, keep at it. Come up. Give us an update. Bring us some examples next time. And congratulations. First time on Paradigm Drift. Number 6, Joseph Lowett. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you
Appreciate
so much.
it.
Guys, give him a hand. Come on, guys. You can do better. Welcome into the show. All right. Come on, guys.
All right. Welcome to the show, Phil.
Thank you.
All right, your video quality is not fantastic, but we're gonna try it. All right, you got a minute on the clock. Let's hit it.
Okay. Finite theory. I wrote a well-debated, groundbreaking new gravitational theory that can explain the gravitational force, which is just a potential energy differential, the light bending, the perihelion precession disparity, the galactic rotation curve without dark matter, the expansion of the universe without dark energy, the flyby anomaly, the vacuum catastrophe, the annihilation process, the pair production, the quantum tunneling, which leads to groundbreaking new cost-effective deep technologies such as stealth propulsion or anti-gravity at TRL-4, force field, which is at TRL-3, antimatter genesis, which is at TRL-2, and much more. So I'm in touch with the U.S. Navy right now. They're very interested, but I need to expand my experiment a little bit more. Thank you.
All right.
Welcome to Phil. Phil's been hanging around for a long time, so it's good to meet you, Phil.
Yeah. I've been at the previous show, but I missed the boat, I guess.
It's all right. The boat has arrived.
I feel like you just teased us with your theory. You're like, I got the best theory ever that solves everything, but you didn't actually tell us what it was.
Yeah,
it's a mathematical theory.
Yeah, a mathematical framework to replace general relativity, and basically saying it's very simple. I mean, I tested it as well, and I tested the anti-gravity, the using MHD vortex of gallium that generates a gravito-electromagnetic field. And gravity is very simple. It's just an energy distribution differential. That's it. So if you can create any form of energy, you're gonna create a force. You know, you create energy differential.
But Phil, let me ask you this, buddy. Let me ask you this. I think we all have like some vague college sense of general relativity. What is the improvement, or what was the mistake that was made in general relativity that causes it to be not as accurate and predictive as your model? Like, what is the fundamental difference? If you had to say one thing, what would it be?
Yeah, well, general relativity at the time it was written, back then they thought that the universe was just the galaxy, the Milky Way. They didn't know that it was greater than the Milky Way. So Einstein adapted his theory for the galaxy, but once they realized the universe is much bigger than the galaxy, then his theory started breaking apart. The galactic rotation curve didn't work without. They had to invent dark matter. Same thing with the expansion of the universe. They had to invent dark energy, the cosmological constant, and all that nonsense.
Okay.
So that's the biggest part.
Okay, so with your theory, you don't need dark matter, you don't need dark energy, you don't need these things to explain why the universe works the way it works. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
We got a paper.
We have to take his word for it, unfortunately. Apparently, we have to take his word for it because, yeah. I mean, this is the problem.
I've got a paper. It's very simple. I compare my mathematics with 500 galactic rotation curves using a little algorithm, and I'm able to match all 500 galactic rotation curves.
So you have a peer-reviewed paper published with this theory.
I'm not a mainstream PhD.
Cops have showed up, I believe.
PhD in astrophysics. So, but these people they can't publish very easily. But for me, I'm not in that ivory tower.
Yeah, but I think if you have a theory and you have like proof of this, you tested it. I feel like you could write up a manuscript. I understand you don't have like the pedigree or the name, but he could submit it and
it'll probably get rejected. But like, hold on, he could at least bring some of that, right? Like he could bring a single example next time where he's like, this is how the mainstream curve predicts it, and here's my equation, and here's how it fits the data differently. That would at least give us something to like talk about. This is just, dude, you just basically opened all these cans of worms and asked us to take your word for it, and that's very uncompelling.
I've got an experiment I can show you.
I believe you do, man. I bet you might be the next fucking super genius, but I would have no way of knowing. So I'm asking you to like narrow this down to something that you can show us so that we can understand it, so that we don't have to take your word for it. Oh, yeah. Dorian's got it. No? All right. So why don't you do this, Phil? Do you got a website where you publish any of this stuff?
Yeah, it's called, well, my company is called fortnox.com. I'll post a link.
All right. Fortnox.com. So, folks, go check it out. Phil, sign up next time. Come back. Bring us one example. Compare the mainstream data to your mainstream fit to that data to your fit, and then we have something to talk about. Sound good?
Awesome. All right.
We'll see
I'll show you my experiment as well.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. Guys, give him a hand. Thanks. Come on. Let's give him a little bit of... Come on. All
right. We have Brendan Galledge.
I'm on. Okay. I only discovered your channel.
Hold on just a second.
The band's still playing, bro. You're gonna hurt our musicians' feelings, man.
That's you.
You know how much we're paying for this band back here? Yeah. All right. Sorry, Brennan.
They're very difficult to work with.
Yeah. Welcome to the show, man.
Divas, right?
True divas.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
All right. Nasia's got a minute on the clock. Here we go.
I only discovered your channel yesterday, and I'm surprised that everybody's at like a PhD doing hard science.
Well, the
Because I saw
PhD's
your
got to do
video
something at
about
night.
I saw your video about
Hold on,
what
hold
comes
on.
after
Well,
You have
God.
to be presenting a theory.
Yeah, you're on the clock, buddy.
Oh, okay.
We'll talk in a
So
second.
the theory is I have invented my own religion.
Oh,
The problem it solves,
Alright.
the problem it solves is that it provides a moral framework that's consistent with modern scientific knowledge. This provides structure and meaning in my life while eliminating the possibility of having a crisis of faith. It uses the idea of a deistic creator god as a scaffold for values, which would otherwise be arbitrarily asserted. Cosmological arguments make the existence of a creator god sound plausible, and if this god were omnipotent and omniscient, then it would make sense that he'd create the universe exactly the way he liked on his first try. So that encourages one to try to see beauty in the universe exactly the way it is right now. So the religion does not depend on any supernatural promises. Also, the success of science makes mathematics seem somehow higher than matter, since matter follows mathematical laws, but math does not depend on the existence of matter. This inclines one to think that God is somehow closely related to mathematics. So I like to think maybe he's something like an infinity of abstract potential, and maybe he created the material universe in order to instantiate.
Right, there it is. All right. 60-second theories. That is the way it works here. But this sounds fascinating. I don't know. By any chance, did you catch our conversation with Michael Hughes we just put out on the podcast last week? Because
I discovered your channel yesterday.
Oh shit! Well, the last conversation we had was exactly about what it is that will replace the outdated, superstitious notion of God in the next century.
Oh, that's actually the video that made me want to join this podcast. So I was surprised. I thought the podcast would all be about that, and then like most of the people here are actual PhDs doing hard science. So I was a little bit surprised.
We haven't overrepresented.
Let's not exaggerate.
There's too many of us in this one room, but I don't know about overall. Yeah, we don't care about those kind of letters tonight. We only care about your ideas.
It's really funny because the guy who's coming on after you, his name is Troy Pasulka. And Troy's entire argument is the exact opposite of yours, about like the lack of need for moral systems and the like complete obsolescence of these systems in the modern day. And so this is very interesting.
If you didn't have values, then why would you do anything? I think if you didn't have values, you'd be like a computer and you'd be smart, but you'd just sit there and not do anything.
I would agree.
So I guess values for you are also what's powering intrinsic motivation to do something.
I like that Tatiana always seems like she's going to start a fight. Tatiana asks the question.
What did I do?
You're just so strict. She's like, I guess.
Ladies.
I am just trying to clarify. I want to follow.
So what was that values are intrinsic motivation, or is that what you said?
It sounds like your claim is that values, equate values to motivation to do something. And I don't know if that's necessarily the case.
This is a somewhat different, basically, yes, this is a somewhat different topic, but I think of emotions as coming from the values you have, plus some sort of perceived event related to the value. So like happiness is the acquisition of something good, and contentment is the possession of something good, and sadness is the loss of something good. So your values plus something happening produces an emotion according to some logic of the emotion.
I mean, I think that makes sense. But what about when you just have what is it called? Like a reactionary. I'm really having brain fog right now. Like something uncontrollable. What is that called?
Like a blinking?
Like an automatic, like whatever response. Reflex. Thank you. Oh my God.
Yeah, I think that's not emotional. That's not emotional in nature. Like your body can have reactions. Like I think hunger is different than an emotion, because I think emotions are at least partially cognitive. Like you have to understand what's happening in order to feel an emotion. But like hunger, your tummy is empty and you get hungry.
What about disgust? That's an emotion, right?
Disgust?
That could be reflexive too, no? Or lust.
I've never thought much about it. I don't have a strong opinion right now.
I feel like there's some emotions that are integrated into like a not a conscious response. That would be my maybe counter idea.
Yeah, I don't think my emotional model handles everything. Only things that like are, I consider emotions to require some kind of cognition to work.
Okay.
And like not all of your like blinking and hunger and not everything fits into that category.
Okay.
Dorian?
My question is: so you say you invented a new religion? Is that correct? Did I hear that correctly?
Well, it's kind of inspired by. It's not entirely new. Maybe it's more of like a synthesis of ideas other people have had. But yeah.
No, I mean I'm not the new part. Yeah, whatever. It's all recombination of things. Nothing's new really, but because it's just cobbled together new. The arrangement is new of these ideas, yeah. But why is it a religion, and what's the difference from, I don't know, a general philosophy, for example, that you have?
I guess I don't think there is much difference, except I guess I consider religions to be philosophies that are based on some sort of mythology. And so I have a mythology of a creator god. It's very stripped down. And I don't think it's strictly necessary to believe in it, but it's kind of a useful scaffold for values, because otherwise values are totally arbitrarily asserted, like from the strictly logical perspective. Like you can't prove a value judgment without assuming some sort of value premise.
Can I ask, what's the nature of your god?
Somehow closely related to mathematics. I don't know.
So where's his? Why did he make the universe the way it is? I mean, that's your creation story, kind of.
Well, I guess the point is to orient me to trying to see beauty in existence the way it is, and it's a story that would make me want to do that. No, so like the way you do it is you see how the world is and see how it's beautiful.
Have you read the Pythagoreans at all? You sound like you would.
I think I've heard of them, but I don't know much about them.
Check it out.
I feel like I didn't answer the other guy's question. He seems not satisfied.
Victorian, are you not satisfied? Demand satisfaction.
No, I think it's hard to answer the question realistically, because it sounds like you use your myth. I guess your creation myth is kind of a clutch. Yeah, or cudgel maybe, that you use, and I totally get it. Yeah, because if you behave as if somebody was watching you at all times, most likely you're going to behave more morally better in some way.
That actually wasn't the point. I used to be a Christian, but I kept getting disappointed by the confusion in the church and supernatural promises that I could never verify. So eventually I came around to the idea that I'm not going to even care if he's watching me or not. I'm going to believe the world I see in front of my face is beautiful, and I'm going to try to pay attention to it.
But then let me ask again, or let me ask, where is your moral ground? Where is what you define as good? Where is that coming from, based on the fact that the universe happens to exist?
Well, I guess the idea is that whatever does exist, apparently it's beautiful to God.
Yeah, but
now this is obviously different than human ideas of goodness, because the way the world is obviously doesn't care about our individual happiness or success.
So how would you define good and evil from your framework?
Oh, shit.
Oh, Tatiana with the hard questions.
From the psychological perspective, values are, well, from the logical perspective, they're arbitrarily asserted. From the psychological perspective, they're sort of hardwired. Like, I would like to not be punched in the face and things like that. And from the point of view of this religion or this philosophy I've invented, I try to see the world the way it actually is and see beauty in it. So like I come from an evolutionary process, and that involves lots of failure, and basically lots of individuals fail. So that means I can try to see beauty in the process itself, even if my own life kind of sucks.
Okay, how do you put this in the context of all the living beings within the, on Earth, or so animals or bacteria? Like how would you put that in the framework? So it sounds to me that it's a very deeply humanistic perspective, because you need consciousness kind of, and reflection, and all these higher order abilities to follow. Maybe we should spend more time actually defining what the religion is, because you just give us kind of a taste, right? And we don't have so much time.
Well, I don't claim to have it all figured out. I guess I believe that if you think about ultimate causes, a creator God is a potential answer. It could also be an infinite regression of causes, or like circular causality, like maybe somebody goes back in time and starts, like, makes a time machine and starts the Big Bang. I don't know how that would happen, but like that's an option, or infinite regression of causes, or creator God. So out of those options, that seems like one that could be plausible, that provides a scaffold for value judgments. And I forgot what your question even was, how it relates to
hey Brian, this is what I would do, man. Next time I would compare like what you feel like are the failed features of standard traditional religions and compare them to your proposal.
That's a huge topic.
Hell yeah, that's what we should get into. You could pick one feature set maybe and propose how your philosophy addresses it. I think
because we just have a kind of like a claim and we have nothing to compare.
Yeah,
so like, where's the advantage of your way of thinking? Why does it make people maybe more better towards each other, if that's even something you're setting out to do? Like, why should people follow your religion? How is that going to make them better people? Are they going to enjoy life more? Like, religion is trying to, I think, address the fear that humans have with their mortality, and also the nihilistic maybe nature of some things of existence, where we're afraid of being forgotten and our lives not mattering in the grand scheme of things, right? So what do you have to offer?
You want me to answer that now, or
no? Come back next time and do it.
Yes. So you're gonna be one of our regulars for next time. Send us an email and we'll have you come back. And you won't get pulled from the hat. You'll just be you'll have 60 seconds to present the next.
We are interested enough. We want to hear more, but we can't do it tonight because we got more people that need to present. Bring us some specific examples. God damn it!
So you're gonna do it next week? Oh wait,
no, sorry, next month. Next month.
We'll email you, dude.
Email you. Yeah. No, email us. We need
or email us. Yeah, we'll be in touch.
This is very chaotic. Email us, and we'll tell you when the next one is, and we'll organize.
Guys, give Brendan a round of applause. Come on.
Woo!
Come on.
All right, thank you, Brendan. Come back again. Right now we have Troy to offer us the exact opposite perspective.
You already know this? Oh, okay. The next guest. Okay, that was like. Okay. 40 minutes. The band is so amazing. They're worth all the money you're paying them.
All right, after Troy, we have Stephen Goodfellow. Troy, I think we have to congratulate you on the birth of your new child.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she's asleep right now. He's asleep.
Congratulations. And so since last month, Troy has now increased his number of children and is still here to
Thank
present.
God somebody's doing it.
All right, when you're ready.
Okay. This is a chapter from a book I'm writing. Cats show no preference for sugar. They lack a gene associated with the ability to sense sugar as sweet. While this does not mean that cats never experience sweetness, it does mean that sweetness is not an inherent property of sugar. Instead, that sweetness is associated with sugar is a property of certain life forms. Dogs provide a similar example. They cannot see a red dot placed on a green wall. This is because dogs see as a single color all light within the frequency range that includes red and green light for sighted, non-colorblind humans. Once again, a supposed property of objects, their color is revealed to be a property of certain life forms. Since nearly every other supposedly objective property is actually subjective in the same manner, it is no surprise that some have asked, is all reality merely a mental projection? The best answer to this question has been provided by a popular nursery rhyme. Life is but a dream.
All right.
Ah, well done. Pretty neat.
That was fucking interesting, man.
Troy delivers.
Troy delivers, indeed. Troy sent us a list of about 25 different theories, and he was like, "Which one should I do?" And we're like, "Dude, we'll be here for the next few years at least."
No, Troy was like, "I'm ready to be on the podcast. These are the things we could talk about." So we're filtering through them one by one.
We're working towards that, though, Troy. You're getting close, man.
Yeah.
What did you?
If you guys want to, yeah, that's a first part of chapter 1. I have another 1 minute if you want to hear it. I think it could be interesting also.
I would say do it.
No, Troy, just come on, man. We're gonna keep milking you for all you're worth. This one is really cool by itself. So, is the idea?
Oh no, it's just more of the same thing. It's more of the same thing. It's more from the same chapter.
All right, fine. Hit me. Come on, you're just so good. Just go. God damn it! You win. Hit me.
According to the common, seemingly correct understanding of dreams, an individual mind creates both the worlds and the characters of its own dreams. In other words, the properties of dream worlds and characters are merely mental projections of some dreamer. In a nearly identical way, the world and the characters we experience while awake, including ourselves, could be a mental projection of a dreamer. One might object that compared to our waking experiences, our dreams are of low quality. Both individually and collectively, our dreams are compressed, disjointed, inconsistent, and outside of our control. The objection is best addressed by considering the dreams dreamt by the characters within our dreams. Assuming dream characters are relatively shallow mental projections that they seem to be, it seems reasonable to expect that if they were to have dreams of their own, theirs would be of a lower quality. By analogy, if our waking experience is a dream, and if we are merely characters in that dream, it may be expected that we too would produce dreams, our own dreams, right, that are of lower quality than the reality we experience while awake. Thus, the low quality of our dreams is consistent with the idea.
I like the first minute better.
Yeah.
Yeah, the second one is it's more complicated, so I'm not sure if it came across exactly.
Yeah. Okay. But so let's go back to the first one, and then if we have time, we can unpack the second one. Okay. So doesn't it kind of make sense that a cat wouldn't be able to taste sweet, given the fact that it would be anathema to its entire constitution? And that, like, so you're basically saying that the idea of sweet is a subjective experience produced by the organism that senses it, as opposed to some objective quality of the molecule out in the world.
Yes, and when we understand the mainstream physicalist, materialist, scientific paradigm, that is what the paradigm is, even though people don't realize that that's what the paradigm is.
Yeah. Can I ask a question? So I feel like you have a molecule and you need a receptor to, it's not just about the molecule itself. You also have to have the receptor that it's like binding to, or the sense organ. So for example, with the example of the light, to also register. So I would say it's an interaction between these two systems. And then you have something such as sweetness as a byproduct, or a certain color and whatnot. So, and I think that this is just, like, I don't think it's necessarily leading to this dream idea per se. It's just a property that in one organism has a special way of sensing this molecule, such as sweetness. Some other organism senses this molecule as some other flavor or something else altogether. Does that make sense what I'm trying to convey? What my criticism is?
As I understand it, you're saying, well, I don't know if reality is a dream, and then you're talking about, that molecules interact. And so I think maybe you're referencing like there's some objective world out there or something other than the cat's mind. Is that what I'm getting? That's what I'm getting. I don't know.
I'm basically saying that the two examples you conveyed, which was sweetness and for cats, so not being green, and the color for dogs, this is not necessarily demonstrating this idea that you later put together with as examples of us dreaming. I think those could be separate things, because this property of the molecule, the taste, this is not just the inherent property of the molecule on its own. The taste or color is an inherent property of the combination of the molecule and the receptor, and potentially our brain perceiving that.
Okay. I think I understand now. So you're like, Troy, you said it's not a property of the molecule, therefore it's just made up. No, Troy, it's a property of the interaction between different molecules.
Yes.
Okay, got it. And there we get into the hard problem, which is one other idea that I thought we might discuss, right? Because if I put sugar on a rock or sugar in water, I don't assume that sweetness is being created. So why the hell would it be created when it touches the molecules of my body, which are basically just water and carbon and stuff like that?
Well, because agency is part of it, right?
Say that again.
Agency?
Yeah, because the rock doesn't really give a shit if it's sweet or not, but a human does, because a human is optimized to digest sugar.
Like the same thing, reactions potentially happening to the rock that would happen to our mouth when you put sugar in water. It's just the rock doesn't have a receptor for the sugar. There's no effect that's being okay. Like we don't have sense organs, humans, as far as I know, for like electrical currents. Not really. You have other organisms that sense this completely. Well, not like
sharks.
Not like sharks who can navigate, right? This is what I mean.
This would be a really funny way to discover that.
But nonetheless, these forces exist, and for us, we're like oblivious to them because we don't possess organs. It doesn't mean that they don't have inherent properties that we can't detect.
We lose them in the circumcision, I think.
And this is the same thing. This is the same. What about women? Women inherently don't have them. Okay, that's a side note. And my point is simply that it might have this property, but it's just doesn't matter because rocks don't have the receptor to
of course
work
it
with
matters,
the sugar.
Because like the idea of sweetness is a motivating characteristic. Like what is sweetness if not in some way an emotional experience?
What? Okay, but that's like neither here nor there. You're talking about the concept. The concept.
Oh, that's so sweet.
No, I mean like literally, like when you taste something that is sweet, it contains within it this like nexus of pleasure and satisfaction. And it is a signal that you should consume more of this because it will be good for you.
It doesn't contain that within it because a cat wouldn't, it's not within it. It's within you. And if I taste that in a dream, I would also feel that.
I need someone.
Dorian wants to say something.
Hold on, before Dorian says something, I need somebody in the chat to look up whether or not cats basically have some kind of ketogenic metabolism as a baseline that is necessary for their lifespan. Dorian, go ahead.
Just to clarify, is your claim that objective reality does not exist outside of sensory, I guess, input or sensory sensations? Like, is your claim that sugar isn't sweet unless it is tasted by a human that can taste sweetness, or what is your claim exactly?
The claim, and I haven't fully, I've just read you a little part of chapter 1, but the claim is that what we think of as properties of objects out there, sugar, that's sweet, is not a property of the sugar. It's a property of us, whatever we are. And if we strip down all the properties from every object that's out there, what is left exactly? And if everything is just us, then the world maybe is a dream because our dreams are just us.
Okay, well, so hold on a second. If you put sugar on a rock, let's say you have 2 rocks, right? You have 2 rocks.
Rock candies.
And sugar drains, and some kind of like honey drains into a crevice between the 2 rocks. And the 2 rocks stick together as that honey evaporates. Like there is an objective quality of stickiness that comes with sugar. Right? So there must be
every objective property you think of would be a property of an organism experiencing it. If you were a tiny little organism, I'll just come up with some example. I'm not sure it's exactly right, but you get the idea. If you were a tiny little organism living in that honey, you wouldn't feel sticky at all.
No, I think no, this doesn't make sense. Go ahead.
Sorry, I guess it's a follow-up. I just have to remember again what I wanted to ask. No, I think when we say sugar is sweet, this is shorthand for sugar has a molecular configuration that if put onto our tongue leads to a certain chemical reaction in our brains. That's just a shortcut. We say sugar is sweet, not to say sugar has the physical property of being sweet. That's not what we mean when we say sugar is sweet. What we mean is when we eat it, it has a certain taste. And so I'm not entirely sure. It's not it's not an objective quality in any sense. It was never meant as an objective quality, I think.
Right. There's no objective reality.
No, that's not what I'm saying at all.
No, I think.
Well, that's the implication.
No, because it's not the implication. No, you're seeing it from one perspective, and it's hard for you to shift it.
You could disagree. I've been the staunchest materialist for forever. I mean, only within the last year or two did I realize, okay, there's no solution to the hard problem.
And then I took ayahuasca, and everything fell apart.
No, I just used logic. I happened on a Bernardo Kastrup lecture, and I started watching him, and I was like, yeah, he's right. I mean, there's no material essence to speak of. I mean,
okay, so your claim is that, like, before organisms, living beings before they came into existence, nothing existed. That's kind of like your claim, right?
At least the consequence.
Or at least the consequence of the claim.
I think you could say that.
Our friends are just meeting analytic idealism for the first time. This is so much fun. Yeah.
I think for me, I would need to hear more examples. I think the examples you gave me are not conclusive. I mean, for me, you still haven't convinced me at all, because for me, again, sweetness is an inherent property of not sugar per se, but again, our receptors being adapted to sugar, and everything Nasty's talking about as a consequence of the sweet taste. It's evolution because we get benefit from this molecule. It's something much more it's more specific to us as the observers of it, but it still doesn't take away that there are inherent properties of sugar, and it's going to behave a specific way in water when you turn into solution, into whatever, that is completely independent of whether we taste it or not, of its sweetness property. And that is the intrinsic physical characteristic of like chemicals, how they're going to interact with each other and how they're going to bond. And that doesn't matter. Like, you're giving me an example of perception specific things, and it's not actually, I would argue, a physical characteristic of that thing for me. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
There are no physical characteristics. Every example that I would go through would turn out to be a perception, because that's all there is.
No, but I disagree with you. There's sugar molecules, and they're going to be in solution a specific way, or it's going to bind to another chemical in a predictable specific way.
According to what you perceive. According to what you perceive, it will do this, but other people won't perceive that. Other organisms won't perceive that. A rock won't perceive that.
I disagree. Viscosity. I disagree.
You think a rock would perceive that? Okay, all right. Maybe a rock would perceive that.
It's going to be stuck in viscous material. Like, there's a consequence to this.
So how's this?
Anyway, I would just go watch a bunch of Bernardo Castro lectures on YouTube, or discussions on YouTube, or wait for my book to come out. But you won't be convinced either way, probably. But you might be. Bernardo Castro is very good at this, articulating this idea.
So it sounds like you are having a philosophical theory here, to me, because it sounds a lot like I think, therefore I am. That's kind of the hard problem of philosophy that you're trying to solve. Is there an objective reality outside of our perceptions? And how would we measure that reality? And philosophy's answer is there is no way to measure that reality without sensors, and we cannot be sure that these sensors are real. And so therefore, the only thing that we can be sure of is, I think, therefore I am. That's the only thing that we can know. That's kind of what your claim is, if I get it right.
I think that's a good encapsulation. I think that maybe we could pare it down more. I think, therefore I am. What is that I am? What do you mean? You're just thinking. What else is there?
No, I think, therefore
you're
I am.
Perceiving.
I mean,
but what is this I am? What is this I am? When you say, I think, therefore, I know. When you say, I think, therefore I am, what are you moving towards? Because you're always in your perception,
no,
so
it's not
you
a
just
movement,
think.
It's logic. It's an implication. If I can think,
you're moving logically from
that's
one.
That's a logical conclusion.
Yeah. So you're thinking, you're perceiving. Let's just broaden it to perceiving.
I just need to think for that. I don't need sensory input.
Okay. Okay, that's fine. But you're perceiving something. You're aware. You're conscious. And then what else?
I am.
There's nothing else.
But I think, therefore, I am. And now everything else must follow from this, or it doesn't really follow.
Troy, you have opened up the gates of analytic idealism for Tatiana and Dorian. We're going to have to spend the next 24 hours putting them back together again.
I think we'll survive.
I'm sure that you will. But I think that this is a startling philosophy for anybody to be exposed to for the very first time. And so thank you for coming. Thank you for coming despite the fact that you have crazy family stuff going on. Good luck. May everybody be healthy and blessed, and come back again, because you always have something interesting to present. And we will see you.
Thank you, Troy.
Next time.
Guys, give Troy a big round of applause. Come on, guys. Hell yeah. Who do we got next?
Next up, we have Stephen Goodfellow. All right.
Steven.
Hi, guys.
Steven.
I gotta say, I really love your stuff. I enjoyed your trip to the Mycenaean area and you trudging up
the hill and talking philosophy and the history of it. I just thought it was absolutely delightful. And I'm so jealous I didn't get to go to Portugal as well.
We'll have more.
Because
We'll have
that
more.
looked like fun.
There will be more.
But for right now, it's your turn, Stephen. You got 60
All right,
seconds.
you can point that thing at me with a 1 minute and I'll go to it.
All right, let's do it.
All right. The problem, we don't have a unified field theory. Does a handshake exist between electromagnetism and gravity? So what gets resolved with this experiment? Why is the sun unexpectedly round? Why it rotates so slowly? How the sun manages to ring like a bell? It resolves the coronal heating problem, and why sunspots are dark depressions instead of bright. And our atmosphere, the cloud-to-cloud lightning ignition problem, how lightning travels great distances through insulating clouds. So the solution is a direct experiment, firing laser photons past an electrical discharge as they make their way to an interferometer target. According to present theory, photons should not deviate. I'm suggesting they will, inferring gravitational induction. The experiment has never been performed. Going forward, if the photons deviate, it's gravitational induction. It's gravity without a corresponding quantity of mass. It's the key to the unified field theory.
Okay, yes.
It's
Can I put that under a minute?
Again, it feels like an advertisement for a theory, but I like the experiment that's proposed. It's interesting.
Well, it's never been done.
I thought that the problem was
it's
stated
never been
well.
tried. I've spent 40 years on this, and I've asked many scholars and researchers if anybody has ever tried it, and apart from someone having done a null result, no one's done it. And I think the reason is because we have a sort of a dogma of electromagnetism right back to Hans Christian Ørsted, and the tools you need to discover if the photons deviate hasn't existed for more than 20 years, or since the laser. I think just basically everybody's forgotten about it. You know, it's like it's one of the legs, the foundations of physics, and we've not looked into it.
Can we like zoom out a little bit because you made?
Hang on, let me turn you up a little bit. I can't.
Can you hear me better
real well.
if I talk here?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay, so can you zoom out a little bit and talk about the problems that you're trying to explain? Because you said a couple of things about the sun that I think are relevant and interesting, about its roundness, about the sunspots. So, like, assume that there's some people in the room that have no idea why the sun is weird.
Understood. It's a lot to swallow in 1 minute. Well, one of the things that's really exciting is that the sun in 2012, they did these very close experiments. They discovered that the sun, it spins, so it should have an oblateness. And a lot of the scientists who did the calculations sort of said that, it's going to have X amount of oblateness, even though it rotates very slowly, once every 28 to 30 days, depending on where you measure it from. But it has no oblateness. And, they say it has a 7 kilometer oblateness, give or take a 10% error. So the question that has been left unanswered is why? Why does it not have an oblateness? And the answer is it's not a ball as a sort of like a deep center inside with a massive amount of mass in there. It is a shell. It is not hollow. Hollow is defined as a space with nothing in it. This is a volume with no space in it.
Whoa! What the?
Oh no! I was so on your side until you said that.
What about the solid body rotation?
I'm a big fan of Lerner and Anthony Peratt, who I had dinner with, and I asked him why did they put gravimeters next to the atomic bombs when they tried? Because he was there for most of them, and he said no, they never thought about it.
Yeah, but the sun has solid the core of the sun has solid body rotation from like the baryacoustics.
I'm going to see if I can get my volume up here. I can. Hang on a second, guys. It was hidden by computers.
All right, let's not even do it that way. What the hell does it mean that it just has space but no volume? What the hell is space?
That's a good question. And the reason is because we look at space as, a lot of people looked at space as empty. But it's not empty, as you probably know. Every cubic meter of intergalactic space has at least 6 to 10 electrons and protons. It's infused with neutrinos. You've got virtual particles going through there, and what they call background radiation, which might not be background radiation, but that's going through it too. So it's not empty. And back 40 years ago, I thought to myself, well, what if you could make something empty in space? How would space behave around it?
Dorian?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense what he's saying, actually.
Oh no!
No, I understood. I understood what he said. This makes sense. I don't want to deviate, but I'm really more interested in this experiment. Like, what exactly is the experiment that you propose?
I'll be glad to explain it.
What are the predictions that, let's say, conventional physics gives, and then what are your predictions?
Yeah, sure. Basically, you take a laser. You place an interferometer as a target. You have an electrical discharge. I like a Z-pinch, but, I'll take what I can get. I tried to convince the plasma physicists at the U of M, but the guy was retiring, so he wasn't really interested. So you fire the photons, the polarized photons, as close to the electrical discharge. Magnetism, photons don't give a shit about magnetism. They go straight to the interferometer. But I propose that the electrical discharge is a rip. The core of a discharge is a rip in the fabric of space. It produces a subspace, for want of a better word. And when you hear the collapse of a lightning bolt, it's pressure, pushing in, but in its core, it's actually an absolute vacuum. It's non-space, and it's very strange stuff. That if I could create non-space here, I would instantly vaporize and probably take most of San Miguel de Allende with me.
So you shoot it. Okay. So as far as I understand, you have an interferometer. Sorry, and I'm guessing.
Yes.
I'm guessing your proposition is that we will see an interference pattern, whereas the classical physics would predict that there is no interference pattern. Or am I?
Yes. The prediction would be that there would be no deviation of the photons to the target. That's the classical. That's a classical explanation, because they're looking at the magnetic aspect of the electromagnetism. They're absolutely right. But I'm suggesting that the electric aspect of it, and this is a conversation I had with Anthony Pratt at dinner. We were talking about what does a lightning look like inside, and we both sort of saw it as a spiral of electrons and protons acting as a sort of when you clean the lost dirt out of a vacuum, you use this device, and it's slipped my mind at the moment. But basically, we thought, I was explaining to her, I said, what about the idea that it creates an absolute vacuum, like a rip in the fabric of space? And he said to me, Stephen, you're absolutely crazy.
That's a great story. But okay. So as far as I understand, so first of all, I have to look. I'm not a physicist. Yeah, I have studied physics, but not. I guess I'm not a whatever. I haven't finished. Nah,
you're like a minor. You got a minor equivalent.
Yeah, I essentially have a minor equivalent. But so your theory has, if I got it right, something to do with gravity. But now the only forces you have used in your experiment are essentially magnetic forces and I guess electromagnetic waves, which are the photons. But so how does this connect to the gravity aspect, or did I misunderstand?
I'm very brutally simple about this. I'm only looking at the photons, and when they strike the interferometer. The electromagnetic doesn't give a damn about the photons, and the photons don't give a damn about the magnetic aspect of it. But what I'm interested in is passing the electrons really close to the discharges, to an electric discharge. And there's other. If you're familiar with what is it? Boy, when you're 72 years old, you forget the names of things. The little light that appears in a bowl of water when you put sound to it. Sonoluminescence. There you go. One of the best papers written about it, because there's a lot of people been talking, trying to figure out how it works. One of the best papers says that the temperature gets, as you get closer to the nucleus of this bubble, it gets extremely cold. And I agree with that. And it's one of the reasons I think the sunspots, we've totally misinterpreted sunspots. And when we go from the corona, which is billions of degrees, and we get down to the chromosphere, which is 6,000 degrees, then we get down to the photosphere, which is 5,000 degrees, then we get down to the penumbras, that's around the sunspot, that's 4,000 degrees, and we get down to the umbra, it's 3,000 degrees, and it's depressing further and further. And at that point, the scientists come in and say, oh, we've got a fusion reaction going on right in the center of all that, which violates the second law of thermodynamics, and the reason that we have the coronal heating problem, which has never been solved.
Pierre-Marie Robitaille actually has some very salient ideas about solving the coronal heating problem, which I cannot represent in full here. And
wait, so how do we get all the elements then if they're not created in star cores?
Man, that is an excellent question and outside the scope of the momentary confines.
Well, even the mainstreamers think that the elements are made in supernovas and stuff, some of the big ones. You only can really make up the iron inside of the stars.
So but I'm saying
there's like multiple generations of stars.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need an elemental theory to accompany this.
Yeah, I'm only really interested in the sun because it's got the most of the data. When you get out further, it's there's a lot more how we should say lack of data.
That's probably true. Stephen, I think that these are really interesting ideas. You have a spirit about you that I really enjoy, and that I hope that you'll come back.
I feel like you guys. It's such a pleasure to see that kind of refresh. I'm a layman. I don't have a scientific education that was given through an institution. My father was a researcher, and I've always been fascinated with science. So it was from an early age, and I just started really studying plasma physics and plasma configurations. And I just thought to myself, you know what? I think those plasma configurations are inducing gravity. Like those things they call black holes. Like, what is it that Eric Lerner calls them? They're plasmoids. Says, I think those plasmoids are inducing gravity. In other words, they're producing more gravity, or the sense of more gravity that actually exists in the mass.
Well, come back next time and give us a theory about plasmoids and gravity. But we gotta let you go for now because we gotta.
Can I make a interjection?
Can I give you
Tatiana has a comment.
I want to mention as scientists, usually you get some kind of education, but as a real scientist, it's a lifelong process of learning. And a lot of scientists historically as well switch fields, so they might have specialized in something and gain expertise. So I think you shouldn't sell yourself short as saying you're a layman. Yeah, I think a lifetime of learning can also get you the expertise as well.
Absolutely.
That's very kind.
Stephen,
thanks.
Thank you.
Wait, he wanted to say something?
Oh yeah, Stephen, you wanted to say something? You wanted to plug your channel or your...
I put a link in your chat to my paper. And there's also a video as well.
Okay.
I'm an artist. I make my living as a fine artist, and that's sort of like how I've been doing my making my money.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. Stephen, sign up again. I want to talk to you some more. You seem like an awesome dude.
That's very much.
Thank
very
you,
much.
Stephen. We'll
Thanks,
see you next
guys.
time. Bye.
Hey, bye-bye.
All right. We are going to try...
One more, yeah? Or?
We got 2. So we're going to try Mikael Wagoner. Is he here? All right.
Can you hear me?
Hold on, 1 second.
We paid good money for this band.
The band will play.
All right, here we go.
All right, is it Michael or Mikael?
Michael.
Michael. All right, welcome, Michael. You got a minute on the clock. Let's hear it.
All right. I have this belief that wavelengths function as the source code of all existence. That it holds any means of information that, from particles to celestial bodies, that it basically holds all the information that all means of substances contains, and that is, I believe, it's possible to access this information and basically learn to read and write from this code, and basically program all particles to basically function however a programmer will want to encode particles.
Yeah, absolutely. I think De Broglie and Huygens and all of our wave theorists would agree.
All right, so Michael's got is this like a vibes theory of everything?
No. I believe because there's the reading part of the code and the writing part, and from the writing part, I believe that for one, with wavelengths, I believe that wavelengths aren't just singular. I believe that if you have one wavelength that's in the key of C, for example, then between the rises and dips of a wavelength, so in between those parts, you have another wavelength within the same key but a different octave. And it will keep continuing as if it was a fractal. So a fractal of wavelengths. And this would allow for information to, and energy to increase to greater extents than what one would assume any particle or any mass would contain. So it would hide further information and energy than one would assume if you're just looking at a wavelength as a single configuration.
What leads you to believe that this is the case?
I just had an intuition, and I based a lot of my ideas that I've written in my books on. And I believe that dark matter, dark energy basically derives off of these hidden wavelengths. I call them shadow wavelengths because I see them as hiding within each wavelength, and I see them as projections of the main wavelength, essentially.
This kind of fits into Eric Ryder's stuff from last month. So Eric kind of has this threshold model of light where there's all of these photoelectric signals happening all the time, but they're not of sufficient power to excite a given atom to its next shape change by which it can change orbitals and then release a photon itself. And so there's kind of this background tapestry of electromagnetic activity that's subluminal in some sense. Does that fit in? I've been having a conversation in the background with my buddy Doug, who's been on the show a few times about this too.
Yeah, I believe so. That's where I feel is basically pointing to. And basically, I feel that if a programmer of any sort of program would take that code and compile it into a specific frequency, no matter, let's say the hertz is like 433.50 or just any random number, and basically insert those frequencies into the particle's shadow wavelengths, as I call it, it would initially create a decoherence or disturbance because they function as interference wavelengths to that particle or substance in particular. And eventually, I feel that it would go through a process of equalizing because of this in a foreign wavelength that isn't necessarily in the exact frequency as that shadow particle's wavelength, if it's going into a different particle. And so it'll go through a state of equilibrium until eventually will merge with these wavelengths, the shadow wavelengths that the particle is injecting itself into, and basically rewrite the information of that particle and basically reprogram it to function however the programmer would want it to.
Have you guys heard of the Taylor series? Because what you're saying sounds a lot like it sounds a lot like basically you're approximating some sort of whatever wavelength you want by looking at it as a sum or a superposition, I guess, of simple wavelengths, and that's kind of the idea of the Taylor expansion, or not Taylor expansion, Taylor series. My question would be, have you heard of it, and is it different? But if you haven't heard of it, then it's really hard to...
Like, there's all these comments, just for, like, all of the non-nerds in the audience, which is probably 1 or 2 people. Like, there's... Like, you have to deal with these infinite series. Like, there's a lot of information that gets lost in...
I actually don't know what a Taylor series is.
All right, let's do that. But basically, it starts with the idea that you have to account for all of this nuance in some sort of concise way. And so the Taylor series is the basic mathematics behind doing these deconvolution is not the right word. Help me out here. It's like in Fourier transforms and in Lagrangians, you have to get between a time and a frequency domain, right? So you have to abbreviate. You have to make some summary of what's happening over some vast range of time, and you add it up. You integrate all of this information in some way, but you lose resolution in doing so, right?
That's right. It's basically a metric space. Yeah, it's a metric space, infinitely dimensional metric space that where every dimension is a frequency, and and how far you are into this dimension is the amplitude, kind of, and then a point in this infinitely dimensional space. It sounds weird, but it is what it is. Is basically whatever your phenomenon is. Like whatever what the expression is at the end of the wave, of the way the wave goes, kind of. Like for example, a picture or something. You can encode a picture as a Taylor series. And that's.
But you're gonna lose out on some information when you do that.
Yeah, in digital realms, yes, but in analog realms, obviously not, because you can.
Yeah,
there's no problem.
I think it functions like vinyl, and how like vinyl's seen as like lossless data, and because it I believe contains a lot more information than, let's say, CDs or any other means of listening to music.
Allow me to take this moment to plug the fact that we are selling our very first vinyl record.
Yeah, get your vinyl. Get your Secretary of Nature's first album is out on vinyl. Pre-orders are on sale in the description.
This is the one we listened to, right?
We haven't played it for you. We've been listening to a lot of vinyl, but we have not played you our record yet.
But yeah, so like the vinyl is lossless because of this property?
Yes.
Yeah, it kind of is. It's analog. It's an analog recording. And it just makes the needle swing the same way it swung when you recorded it. So almost no information is lost, other than, of course,
The digital has to, by definition, say you're going to be at this point and then this point and this point, so they're discontinuous by nature.
It's like square waves.
I mean, there's all kinds of cool computer programs to smooth out the little blips and everything, but yeah, it is true that the vinyl record is actually a physical imprint of the waveform, which is pretty awesome, if you're into that kind of thing.
So back to my question, is your theory different from Taylor series?
I haven't heard the Taylor series, unfortunately.
Okay.
But I believe, though, this process is what allows for quantum entanglement, to allow for one particle to change the spin of another particle, because it's transferring this subtle information and changing the code of the particle, so informing it to switch its spin. I believe that's what's happening with quantum entanglement. And then I also feel that with the reading part of the code, when they say that frequencies are formed through taking a wavelength and dividing it by the speed of light, and how these repetitions are the same, so you can't really tell a code from it all being the same thing, as opposed to like binary code where you have zeros and ones, so you can have variation there, or DNA have a variation with that. I feel that the way to read frequencies this way would be to imagine that you're not dividing the wavelength by the speed of light, that you're somehow exceeding the speed of light in order to account for all the minute shifts in vibration, so to hone in on the details more, to zoom in on shifts. So I believe that if you have one particle that may be of one particular hertz, and you have another particle, another thing, that seemingly is the same number, I believe there's still an actual difference in each particle, but it's so slight that you have to zoom in on it to actually see the difference.
Oh,
We'd see
this is
each thing
kind
as
of
unique.
like about the Wheeler thing where he's like, what if all electrons are the same? But you're like, they're not the same if you actually had the number of significant digits to be
Yeah.
able to look at them with specificity. Like if you were able to see them on your own scale, you would be able to see that they would have subtle variations.
Yes.
And so the idea that they all look the same is artifice because our measurement techniques and our mathematics are sufficiently
Yes.
just imprecise.
Yeah, it reduces everything to a very just single number, and it leaves out all the extra information to help hone in on what something is.
I gotta say, dude, our cat is really excited about this theory for some reason. Mingus is freaking out in the background for some reason.
Michael has the answer.
Yeah, Michael, I think, dude, you seem like an interesting guy. You should come back again and develop like this idea a little bit further. It is in the background of a lot of conversations I've been having, this idea of subluminous, like, I don't know what the word is for it, but like electromagnetic waves that don't amount to anything observable. That it does make sense that there would be a lot of information lost because all we have at the end of the day is what the atoms do. So I think it's really interesting, man. And by the way, you said you have some books out. Where can people find your work before we let you go?
It's on Amazon. I published 3 books, but 2 of them are on stuff regarding philosophy of science, mathematics, and theoretical physics stuff, as well as I got videos sort of breaking down all of this stuff. So if you want to watch the videos, but to give you an idea, if you want to then purchase the books, you can look at my YouTube channel.
What's your YouTube channel, buddy?
It's just my name. It's
Michael Wagner, for people who are listening only. All right, Michael. Well, I hope
Spelled MYKELWAGGONER.
Guys, let's give Michael a round of applause. Thanks for coming, Michael. Come on, guys.
Funny enough, I've heard people told me a few times that my first name is considered Russian. I've been told that a few times, so I don't know if that's true.
Oh, like Mikhail.
Mikhail.
All right, good to see you, Mikhail. We'll see you next time. Come back again.
All right, have a good one now.
Bye.
All right, so what do we got? One more?
We got red tail. We are past 9 o'clock at this point.
We're going late, folks.
We're closing, though. We're closing on somebody strong.
What is that?
Red tail?
Ah.
Yeah, but 1 second. The band is still going.
All right, welcome back, Red.
Yeah, the video's much better. The audio's much better. I'm stoked on this. All right, man.
Let's
Hold on 1
close
second.
down this night. Completely blow our minds. You are the closing act. You are the
Omega.
The encore, the finale. You are the whole thing, my friend. So, no pressure. When you're ready.
How does one study the invisible? That depends. For one seeking to study the anatomy of the spirit body, various cultural practices and a modern scientific study involving psychedelics suggest that the activation of Magneto-Receptive vision has been the traditional path. Various animals navigate by orienting to the magnetosphere in different ways, like magnetite, electromagnetic induction, and cryptochrome, which means hidden color. A 1998 study had 3 subjects trip on LSD in a completely dark room with some horseshoe magnets rotating at 0.5 hertz. All 3 subjects reported seeing diffuse blobs of colored light when the magnets were moving. At Eleusis, an SCH basically drank LSD beer made from Claviceps purpurea, a form of ergot grown on barley. Then at night, they were taken into the telestrion, which was designed to be a very visually secluded and dark space, which resembles the conditions of that 1998 LSD study rather well. The human aura, spirit, soul is theorized to consist of multiple localized, subtle, teleologically distinct magnetic fields. One component field is tethered to the motion of bodily atomic electrons oscillating via the right-hand rule. In a very dark environment, observers under the influence of a sufficiently potent LSD trip should be able to magneto-receptively observe the subtly magnetic spirit bodies of each person, inspect and study the anatomical components of the spirit, and observe the presumably enlightened aura of the Hierophant for juxtaposition.
Holy shit, all right.
So what's the idea?
Claims.
The
Big
idea
claims.
is we have
You just gotta
a
trip
soul
out. You can.
and it's magnetic.
Electromagnetic aura souls?
Is that what the kind of essence is of the idea?
Yeah, essentially. I mean, if you think about certain communities who are very peaceful and very loving and very chill and very hip, they're prone to have members who claim to be able to see auras. So I think that also is a dot that connects here. I think the point is that, enlightenment, Illuminati, halos, lots of different, like Keter on the Tree of Life in Kabbalah at the top has a lot of descriptions that have light involved. I think that this offers the skeptic a tool, a way of seeing something that is invisible. This explains the Tibetan rainbow body, why there are all these visual descriptions of chakras, of enlightenment, why are there halos and religious depictions, etc.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think that there's a specific condition under which we can see this like electromagnetic spectrum, and psychedelics have something to do with that?
Yeah, it seems LSD is, or ergot. There was a von Reichenbach in 1851 reported magnet light, and in this study here, they suggested that there was likely a connection to the results they had.
Why do you think that? Why do you think that you need drugs to see this stuff? Like, do you think that we devolved from being able to see it normally, or that it has no utility to be able to view it otherwise, or why in the hell would it evolve that we have to like eat some fungus or something? As much as fun as that sounds.
Well, it gives us sort of perhaps a guru radar. It solves the problem of charlatanism. I think that going back to last episode, I mentioned that certain serpent symbolism was obfuscated. And I think the same, players are essentially engaging in the same agenda by making LSD illegal. It creates conditions that are conducive to essentially negative polarization.
I have a question. So let's say we have magnetic auras, but they're not really intrinsically implying anything. Okay, like it's something a body produces. Some people can even sense it, but there is no implication of what that means, what kind of advantage it gives to us. There is no connection then that of some kind of immortality after death or something. Yeah, it's just a physical phenomenon, such as, for example, we radiate heat, right? As humans or as living beings, we produce heat. That's a byproduct. You could also see that in infrared potentially. We can maybe sense heat in some degree.
Like, how do we know it's functional?
Yeah, like it could just be a byproduct of something, and it's not necessarily, and it's a cool thing, but it's not really
like what's the application?
Giving us any advantage evolutionarily or...
Okay, so the question is like, is there an evolutionary advantage to being able to see this?
No, I guess. I'm just trying to see what's the implication. It could be just a cool phenomenon that's just a byproduct of something else, of us being living beings. Yeah, and that under certain conditions, certain sensory, I don't know, you can sense it then, right? And that's cool side effect, but is kind of like just a byproduct and is not an actual intention. And therefore, maybe under some mind or altering drugs, you can then sense it, but it's not critical for us in any way, and it's not really serving any kind of function.
Okay, so then, I think that the thing that this leads to is there a function to the psychedelic experience that allows you to see this?
Or just what's the function of this aura?
Yeah.
Like what's yeah.
Okay, so I guess the function of the aura, there's multiple functions, like I said, in each of the sort of bodies, and I know that's a contentious term, but I'm going to use it and shield myself.
We love that term. What are you talking about?
Each of these sort of subtle magnetic bodies has its own teleological purpose. Like I said, one of these bodies, I think, is probably connected to the right-hand rule. I'm thinking about how Bob Greenier was talking about using squids to measure stuff. I think those are used in magnetoencephalography machines and ultra low field MRI tech. So it seems to me that we might have a hard time sort of parsing out all of these fields because they're just going to kind of merge together. And, I guess the main thing here would be that if somebody was enlightened, this would be a way to see that and demonstrate that the aura is something that can evolve. That's essentially what Kundalini awakenings are. It's an evolution of the spirit. So it's a way of perhaps verifying that this is a thing and that there is a change that can occur.
I would like to go back to the question whether we can even sense these auras. Let's assume they exist for the moment. But I mean, it would be very easy to design an experiment, like very easy, to see if somebody is able to sense it. I mean, you seem to have produced some papers in the background that you refer to, that you said that people were able to see in complete darkness something, and also people were able to see magnet spinning at half a hertz, if I remember this correctly. So why is this not mainstream science? Like, if it's that easy, what exactly is preventing it from mainstream science?
That's a good question. I don't know that I
It doesn't
have
make money,
an answer for
goddammit.
that. I mean, like I said, that I think the fact that the war on drugs is a thing, and according to Brian Murarescu in The Immortality Key, which you guys should consider bringing on the show at some point.
He's too famous for us.
He favors academic fora, so you have that going.
Couple years.
I guess the Eucharistic sacrament was derived from the Eleusinian and Dionysian mysteries. The Dionysian mysteries just kind of converted the beer to wine. So I'm thinking that there's potentially a Luciferian agenda at play where, in order to promote conditions that are conducive to both like a positive and a negative harvest, you want to make it hard for people to find answers to these questions, because if they can't find the answers to these questions easily, perhaps they say, to hell with it, I'm going to do what I want, and polarize in a manner that is maybe more negative, and eventually maybe you get some that flourish to the point where they're actually sort of harvestable along the negative path.
Okay, so but I mean, this is not really explaining why there are no papers in let's say reputable physical. I'm fairly certain that some sort of SEAL team would be interested in seeing the auras of people through walls.
You can tell our friends work. Our friends actually work in universities. So you can tell.
Like this makes no sense to me unless there is a global conspiracy, which we now have to assume, which is now too much to assume without evidence.
Perhaps my best answer is that the people who are into math and science are oftentimes prejudicially dismissive of subjects that are like woo-woo, and the people who are not and who dive into all things woo-woo are oftentimes lacking in math and science and general discernment. And so I think maybe the overlap of those two sets is very slim. And that was one of the reasons I was excited to find this channel, is because I feel like this overlap lives there. But it's slim, and I'm not an academic. I have never published a paper. I'm a cottage industry researcher with a personal interest in these subjects. So I can't say that I make my living as an academic, and therefore by putting forth potentially wild theories like this, that I'm risking my livelihood. So perhaps there's that component of it at play as well. Frankly, I don't know, but those are just some good faith guesses.
What is your livelihood? What do you do?
I'm an engineer for a mechanical contracting company. I've been doing energy engineering, making buildings more efficient. Prior to that, I was a math and critical thinking teacher.
Where are you at physically?
St. Louis.
Nice. You like it there?
Yeah, it's a good time of year right now. nice weather.
What's cool about St. Louis besides the arch thingy?
By the way, Shiloh and I agreed at some point where if we were ever on different coasts and there was a zombie apocalypse, we would meet at the arch. I feel like it's like an ideal position.
You can see it. Yeah.
You can see it. Presumably it would survive the zombie apocalypse. It's in the middle.
As my junior year history teacher said, if I can see the arch, I'm not lost. And yeah, Cahokia is cool. There's some good food spots around. There's some cool stuff to check out, yeah.
All right, well, maybe we'll stop by if we decide to not take the plane. to the East Coast.
Can you see auras?
I cannot, but I've encountered multiple people who claim that they can, and I've not gotten any conflicting results. And whenever I ask them about it, I tried not to sort of lead the witness, to borrow courtroom parlance, controlling for perspectives and whatnot. But generally, it's been the same.
But you haven't done experiments with these people where you try to like have them detect magnets or something, no?
Well, I mean, I think that it doesn't seem unreasonable to me that you would be able to see a magnet. Is that crazy? Like, if you assume that vision is electromagnetic in some sense, where like the rods and the cones are opening in response to some kind of shifting electromagnetic field.
There is a really sick video on YouTube of this guy manipulating light with magnets through this olive oil. It has to be in a medium because you need to repolarize the medium. But there is something to it. It doesn't seem outside the bounds of possibility, but I have yet to see like the definitive, awesome, controlled experiment that proves that the phenomenon occurs.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's just, I don't know what the application exactly is. It probably could be, right? For sure. I just don't know. Yeah, and I think that's why kind of we evolved. Not everybody has evolved to sense this, and it takes, and maybe under special conditions. Like I could believe this to be a thing. Yeah, this doesn't. There's nothing in me that screams this is a crazy theory, I would say, but I don't know what kind of relevance it is. I would say kind of.
It shed some light on some things that were brought up last episode. And like I mentioned that this medicine man read my palm. And so you think about the medicine man tradition, that's probably going to involve, traditional use of psychedelics. He was 90 years old. So I'm assuming he was like sufficiently traveled, and I guess residual magneto-receptivity would potentially be a thing for someone who's taken enough trips. This kind of gives some insights into my story as well, and offers perhaps some legitimacy to some subjects that are oftentimes prejudicially dismissed as woo-woo. I don't think legitimate palm reading has anything to do with assessing the geometry of creases in the flesh. I think it requires magneto-receptive vision and a working knowledge of what you're seeing. I mean, just because you did LSD and you can see somebody's aura doesn't mean you're differentiating the subtle nuances that are there. Medicine men are able to diagnose health issues, prescribe herbal remedies and things like that, based on what they see as well.
Okay, so you're saying we all have like an aura signature as individuals. Yeah, right? So this is the first time I'm kind of understanding this now. And you can also read the aura and maybe decide about somebody's health or somebody's attitude or personality. That's what your claim is. Okay.
You could see a lot of different things, potentially blockages in self-love, blockages in terms of social relationships, things like that.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
I mean, it's not. So I have to say the hypothesis that you have seems not standard scientific. Yeah. So, like you said, but it's not wrong to have a crazy hypothesis. Yeah. The thing that you have to do now
are unusual.
Well, it's not. It is unusual.
Yeah.
But whatever. Yeah. Just because it's crazy doesn't mean it's wrong. Yeah. What you should do next is an experiment. Like you should do an experiment, and that experiment should not try to. You shouldn't try to prove your point. You should try to negate your point. This experiment should be to, like, your theory should predict that this thing should work, whatever it is, whatever your hypothesis is, and then you should design an experiment that is not
to disprove it.
Yeah, try to disprove it. That's kind of the point. And you can do this. You don't have to have a PhD in anything, or you don't have to be part of the scientific establishment or whatever.
You don't even have to publish it.
You don't even have to publish it, but at least to your own satisfaction, then you can do this experiment. And I would highly encourage you to do this. And I guess if you've done it and the results are interesting,
you want to hear about it.
I want to hear about it. Yeah.
Yeah, like I think that this starts to touch on something that people do want evidence for. Right? Like I think that everybody has a sense, because you can sense when somebody's vibes are off. Like you meet somebody and you're kind of like, I don't know, this feels weird, or this person feels somehow like they're presenting themselves in a way that doesn't line up with who they are. And if there was actually some kind of evidence that demonstrates that that was a sensible characteristic, that would be really interesting. And so I put in the chat, I was like, if anybody's near St. Louis who's interested in doing aura experiments, we need to collect them.
Any excuse to do more LSD research, for science, for science.
For science alone. So Sebastian says he's coming over for science. And so the wheels are turning. Red, I really appreciate you coming by and giving us the next little piece of this. I hope you'll come by again.
Thank you.
It's never enough time. It is never enough time. I wish we could talk to everybody for...
That's the name of the game, folks. Yeah. Thank you, Red. It's always awesome to see you, man.
Is there a place where you're posting stuff? Is it just on Discord right now?
I'm on Discord. I'm on Noster. Again, I run a weekly study group on Clubhouse called Flight Club, so people can find me in those places.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for coming by. Thank you for closing the show. We're going to let you go for now.
Guys,
thank you.
Let's give Red a big round of applause. Come on. Guys, we can do better than that. Come on. And all of our guests tonight, absolutely phenomenal set tonight, spanning the whole gamut. And thank you guys.
And I think everybody's getting better. It's really incredible to see.
Learning how to talk one theory at a time.
Go for it.
Oh, I was going to say, there's a company called Hex that I'm not affiliated with. They make Faraday cage lined clothing to benefit hunters because animals can see their auras. So perhaps an application.
All right, we're going to have to test this out because whenever we go in the woods, we never see any animals. If we get the Faraday cage clothing, maybe we'll start to see more deer.
Guys, if you didn't get called this time, sign up again. We will be back next month and we'll do it all over again.
All right, see you next time, Red.
Thank you all.
All right, thank you to everybody. It was incredible. I appreciate every single theorist that has come, and now Shiloh's gonna play us out. Oh, before I forget, I do want to say thank you to our panelists who have traveled a long distance.
Just for this.
Just for this.
Just for this.
And so thank you, Tatiana. Thank you, Dorian. Thank you to everybody who has participated, to everyone in the chat, and to Shiloh for the incredible tunes each and every time.
He's worth every penny.